The sleek glass doors of Lauren Boutique opened with a gentle chime as Emma Carter stepped inside, her breath hitching as the fragrance of jasmine, suede, and fine leather enveloped her like a soft whisper. This wasn't just any store. It was a place revered in fashion circles, where velvet hangers cradled dresses worth thousands, and stylists memorized your name only if you seemed to belong. At 16, Emma was a quiet blend of elegance and intensity. She carried herself with the confidence of someone who knew her value, even when the world didn't always see it. That morning, she had boarded the train to Boston alone for the first time, gripping a handwritten list and a note her father left by the door. Find what makes you feel unstoppable. Love, Dad. Today was more than a shopping trip. It was a defining moment. Growing up, she watched her father, James Carter, enter rooms and own them, not with arrogance, but with purpose. A self-made tech titan, James built his empire on brilliance and unyielding dignity. Though Emma never leveraged his name to gain entry, she learned from him how to stride through any door with her head held high. The boutique shimmered with understated opulence. Cashmere throws rested in neat folds, like hidden treasures. Crystal chandeliers floated above in serene silence. Emma let out a slow breath, a faint smile curling her lips. She wasn't daunted. She was prepared. Dressed in a soft beige sweater, high-waisted slacks, and ankle boots, simple, chic, deliberate, her natural curls were swept into a loose bun. Her lips, lightly glossed, caught the light just so. She didn't need to prove she belonged. She knew she did. The gala, a benefit for underprivileged youth her father funded, was 3 weeks away, packed with dignitaries, artists, and CEOs. This year, Emma would attend solo, stepping into the spotlight for the first time. She wanted a dress that screamed her essence, a blend of grace, strength, and quiet fire. She knew this boutique held it. As her fingers brushed over silks and sequins, she didn't notice the woman slipping in behind her. Victoria Hensley glided in with the confidence of someone accustomed to hearing, yes. Draped in ivory cashmere and designer heels, she entered the boutique like a queen reclaiming her crown. She barely acknowledged the staff, offering only a curt nod to the manager before her gaze settled on Emma. There was no overt shock, just a subtle clench of her jaw. To Victoria, a young black girl alone in a place like this wasn't just surprising, it was unsettling. It challenged something unspoken, but deeply rooted, the idea that wealth and elegance belonged to a specific mold, and Emma didn't fit it. What started as a faint murmur of disapproval soon sharpened into something cutting. Victoria watched Emma touch a sapphire gown. She saw her speak softly to a stylist, who smiled and handed her a fitting room key. She observed Emma vanish behind the velvet curtain, with a quiet assurance that clashed with every preconception Victoria held. In that moment, the narrative Victoria clung to, one where girls like Emma were unseen, out of place, or silent, began to fray. Emma didn't know it yet, but her moment of triumph, choosing a dress to feel radiant, was about to be twisted into an unprovoked confrontation. In a space meant for joy and independence, she would face the biting edge of entitlement, masked as sophistication. A smile still danced on her lips as she emerged from the fitting room in a deep emerald gown, its fabric flowing like water over her frame. She gazed at her reflection and saw the future she was crafting, one that needed no approval. But in the room's corner, a voice stirred, low and icy. "Excuse me, is she even supposed to be here?" A storm was brewing, and Emma Carter, whether she sensed it or not, was about to show the boutique and the world what true dignity looked like. Emma Carter's heels clicked softly against the boutique's polished marble, resonating like a steady pulse in a calm symphony. Her emerald dress trailed behind her, graceful and intentional, as she approached a mirror framed by golden sconces. For a moment, it was just her and her reflection, a young woman standing tall, stunning, fearless. The gentle lighting caressed her skin. The rich green fabric ignited the spark in her eyes. Everything about her declared one truth: she belonged. Then came the disruption. A faint whisper drifted across the boutique. A slow, almost imperceptible glance from a woman in ivory cashmere, clutching a pearl-studded bag like a shield of superiority. Victoria Hensley had been watching, waiting for her moment, not because Emma had erred, but because her mere presence challenged Victoria's worldview. Victoria's life was one where her wealth and whiteness cleared paths and summoned smiles. She wasn't used to being questioned, not in words or assumptions. Emma's confidence, her quiet joy, stirred something in Victoria she couldn't name. It stung, it unsettled, it provoked. So, as people like her often do when their unearned ease feels threatened, she veiled her bias in the cloak of decorum. As Emma admired her reflection, Victoria approached an associate with a disapproving look. "Is she being helped?" she asked, her words soft but laced with implication. The associate, caught off guard, nodded quickly. "Yes, she's trying on pieces for the Carter Foundation Gala. She's a guest." Victoria's lips pressed thin. "Really? That's surprising." She said no more. Her tone carried the weight. Minutes later, Victoria glided past Emma, pausing just shy of brushing her shoulder. Her eyes flicked to the gown. "That's a bold color," she said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "A daring choice." Emma smiled politely. "Thank you." Victoria's gaze lingered too long. "Shopping for someone else?" "No," Emma replied evenly. "For myself." "Oh," Victoria said, her eyebrows arching in feigned surprise. "Good for you." The words sounded harmless, but Emma wasn't fooled. There was always a hidden barb in the pleasantries of people like Victoria, a coded challenge in their tone. Though Emma didn't yet grasp the full scope of what was coming, she knew she was being seen not as a customer, but as an intruder. Victoria drifted away, her heels clicking sharply, and Emma returned to the mirror, adjusting the gown's waist. But the air had thickened. A heavy silence hung in the room. Behind her, Victoria approached the manager, Sarah, a young woman newly overseeing the boutique's operations. Victoria spoke in a hushed, pointed tone. "I'm a bit concerned," she began, her voice implying authority, not alarm. "I saw that girl, Emma, slip something into her purse earlier. I hesitated to mention it, but I feel I must." Sarah blinked, unsure. "Are you certain?" "I've been a customer here for over a decade," Victoria said, arms crossed. "You know me. I wouldn't speak without reason." In a boutique where image was paramount and loyal clients held sway, Sarah's posture stiffened. She didn't want to believe it, but doubt crept in. She glanced at Emma, who was laughing softly with another associate, unaware of the storm Victoria was stirring. "It might be wise," Victoria added, "to check her bag before anything else happens." Sarah wavered. The store's policy was clear. Never accuse, never assume, always verify. But Victoria's influence was undeniable. Her opinions carried weight. Under that pressure, Sarah made a choice she'd later regret. Moments later, as Emma stepped out in a new dress, a shimmering champagne silk that glowed like liquid light, Sarah approached with a hesitant smile. "I'm so sorry to interrupt," she said softly, "but we've had a report. Could I check your purse?" Emma froze, blinking. "What?" "It's just routine," Sarah said quickly. "A customer mentioned. Well, it's for security. I hope you understand." The room fell silent. Shoppers turned to look, A woman paused her browsing. A couple by the jewelry case tensed. Victoria, standing feet away, watched with a mask of detachment. Emma swallowed hard. "You want to search my bag?" Sarah faltered. "Just to clear things up." "No one else has been asked," Emma said, her voice low but steady. "Just me." Sarah shifted uncomfortably. "It's protocol." "No," Emma said, her eyes flicking to Victoria. "You're following her lead." She wanted to scream, to leave, to cry, but she didn't. Instead, she unzipped her purse and handed it over, jaw tight, back straight. Sarah sifted through it. Lip gloss, a phone, a wallet, a gala invitation. She looked up. "There's nothing here," she murmured. "Of course there isn't," Emma said sharply. Victoria shrugged from across the room. Sometimes people make mistakes. No apology, no remorse, just the smug assurance of someone who thought her status shielded her. But Victoria didn't know. None of them knew that Emma had made a call during her last fitting. Outside the boutique, a black car had just pulled up. Inside was the man who funded the gala, who owned the very boutique they stood in, whose daughter had just been accused. Emma glanced at the door and exhaled, her voice cut through with quiet fire. "You'll want to stick around for what's next." Outside, the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the sidewalk, where shoppers and traffic buzzed on, unaware of the storm brewing inside. For Emma Carter, everything shifted the moment she was asked to open her purse. The indignity settled on her like a familiar weight, one she refused to bear silently. Facing the judgmental stares of strangers and Victoria's smug satisfaction, Emma felt something stir. Not fear, not rage, but something deeper, ancient. A voice from every woman before her, judged before known, urging her, "Stand up." So she did. She looked at Sarah, who returned her purse with a faint apology, then at Victoria, who had turned away as if her false accusation could be dismissed as easily. The tension was thick, yet no one moved. No customer spoke up. No associate stepped in. The silence judged on its own. Emma reached into her purse again, not to defend herself, but to act. Her hand steady, she scrolled to the name she needed. Her voice firm, she made the call, saying 5 words with quiet resolve. "Dad, I need you here." Miles away, in a glass-towered boardroom bearing his name, William Carter paused mid-sentence. Surrounded by executives awaiting his approval, his phone buzzed. Normally, he'd ignore it. Business demanded focus. But Emma's name on the screen erased everything else. He stepped into the hall without a word and answered. "Emma," he said. Her voice held no panic, only clarity. "I'm at the Meridian Boutique on Newbury Street," she said. "Someone accused me of stealing. I'm okay, but you need to come." A long pause followed, heavy with history. William didn't ask for details. He knew that tone, heard in his mother, his wife, his colleagues, the quiet strength black women summon when dignity is their only shield. He ended the call with, "I'm on my way." Back in the boutique, Emma stood by the mirror again, the same one that had reflected her joy moments ago, now mirroring her resolve. Victoria browsed on, pretending she hadn't sparked chaos. Sarah fidgeted behind the counter, rearranging receipts, her nerves betraying her. Shoppers whispered, some avoiding Emma's gaze, others watching curiously. 20 minutes passed. Then the glass doors chimed softly, and the room's energy shifted. William Carter entered, not as a billionaire CEO, but as a father. In a tailored charcoal suit, his presence was quiet, yet commanding. No introductions were needed. Every staff member knew him instantly. William led Carter and Company, a titan in real estate and luxury retail, revitalizing city blocks with inclusive elegance. This boutique? His. Emma turned to him, her composure unbroken, but softened by his presence. She wasn't alone anymore. He walked to her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Are you okay?" he asked, voice low with care. She nodded. "I am now." William faced the room. The whisper stopped. Even Victoria, her back turned, sensed the shift. She turned, expecting a manager, perhaps another customer. But seeing William, her breath caught. His face, familiar from Forbes, Vogue business, country club magazines, drained her of color. She'd once called his success an anomaly at a luncheon. Now that anomaly stood before her, unsmiling. William's voice stayed low. He didn't need to shout. "Who accused my daughter?" he asked, calm but piercing. Silence. Victoria stepped forward, trying to reclaim control. "It's a misunderstanding. I only raised a concern." "You didn't raise a concern," William cut in, precise as a blade. "You accused her. You tried to shame a young woman publicly, with nothing but your biases to back it." Victoria tried again. "I didn't know who she was." "That," William said sharply, "is the issue." He turned to Sarah. "And you?" "You acted on gossip. You searched a black teenager's bag without evidence, just because a wealthy woman suggested it." Sarah stammered. "I was trying to handle it." "No," William said. "You mishandled it. You let bias guide you, embarrassing my daughter and this business." He addressed the staff. "This is unacceptable." Victoria's voice cracked. "If I'd known she was your daughter." "You'd have stayed quiet?" William asked. "You'd respect her only if she was tied to someone powerful. Your problem isn't just with her, it's with everyone who walks in here and doesn't match your idea of belonging." The silence was heavy. Victoria grabbed her bag. "I'll just leave." "No," William said. "You're banned from this boutique and everyone I own. You don't get to wield your privilege here and walk away unscathed." Victoria opened her mouth, but no words came. She left, her exit as quiet as her cruelty had been loud. William turned to Sarah. "Review your training policies. If this is how you treat a black woman for being confident, you're not running a boutique. You're perpetuating harm." He looked at Emma. "Let's go," he said softly. But Emma paused, turning to the room one last time. Her voice was steady. "You don't need to know someone's status to treat them with respect." She walked out, head high, unburdened. What started as humiliation became a reckoning. The boutique would never forget the day the CEO arrived. More importantly, neither would those who saw a black girl refuse to shrink and choose to rise. As William and Emma stepped onto Newbury Street, the city pulsed on. Horns blaring, footsteps rushing, voices overlapping. But inside the boutique, and for those who'd hear the story, something had shifted forever. The confrontation ended, but its impact was just beginning. The incident didn't explode online at first. It started with murmurs. A customer who filmed William and Victoria's exchange posted it with the caption, "She held her ground. Her father stood with her. That's dignity." Within hours, influencers, activists, and parenting groups shared it nationwide. The story hit a nerve. In a world of fleeting headlines, Emma's quiet defiance stood out. Not staged, not loud, just real. That authenticity struck deep. The boutique incident wasn't just about injustice. It showed when courage matters most. For some, it echoed their own struggles. For others, it opened eyes. Comments poured in. Anger, support, stories. Mothers wondered how their daughters would fare in Emma's place. Fathers saw William's stand as a call to protect their children's humanity. Teachers used the video to spark talks on bias, empathy, and self-advocacy. The impact wasn't just digital. Employees at William's boutique chain contacted headquarters, not to complain, but to thank him. Staff from Chicago, Miami, San Francisco sent messages. "Thank you for showing what leadership means." Some admitted witnessing similar incidents, but not acting. Now they knew how. William, avoiding the limelight, issued a short statement. Everyone deserves to enter a store, classroom, or interview with their dignity intact. Emma didn't stand up because of me. She stood up because of who she is. That's my pride. The boutique closed for a day for staff development. Inside, it was anything but routine. Sarah, the manager who faltered, sat front row in a training by a civil rights group focused on retail anti-discrimination. Asked what she'd do differently, her voice shook. "I'd listen first," she said. "Perception isn't proof. I let bias lead and betrayed a young woman's trust." The ripple grew. In Atlanta, students started "I Belong Here," urging youth of color to reclaim spaces with stories of strength. In Los Angeles, a journalist's op-ed, "The Power of Being Seen," hailed Emma's grace under pressure. In Ohio, a black teen, Zoe, wrote to Emma, "I thought I had to shrink to be safe. Now I want to stand taller." Emma tried returning to normal life. At school, classmates whispered, "You're the girl from the video, right?" She'd nod, smile, but never boast. The attention wasn't her goal. She spoke because silence never shielded her before. Still, something shifted. She sat taller in class, spoke bolder, walked prouder in halls where she once felt small. It wasn't pride. It was presence. She knew her place wasn't just allowed. It was vital. At home, she and William unpacked the day over dinner or tea. "You didn't just teach them, Emma," he said one night. "You reminded me the next generation needs our trust to stand alone." Emma looked at him. "But you showed up." He smiled. "Always." The boutique changed. A sign went up. "We believe in dignity, equity, and everyone's right to feel welcome. If you don't, this isn't your store." Some scoffed, most approved, and reviews praised the staff's new attentiveness. But the real change was quiet. Customers defending others, managers pausing before acting. A young black girl entering with confidence because Emma had paved the way. The ripple wasn't just awareness, it was transformation. At its heart was a teen who entered a boutique for a dress and found her voice. As Emma and William left, her heels clicked louder. Not from new shoes, but from her new strength. Each step carried weight, grounding. She wasn't just leaving a store, she was leaving a moment that could have broken her, but didn't. William walked beside her, his quiet pride saying enough. Their bond went beyond reassurance. It was a shared truth that the world would test her, but she'd proven her strength. The city hummed around them, but for Emma, time slowed. The insults, assumptions, indignity, all in minutes, had shaped her forever. She didn't shout or fight. She met hostility with calm, condescension with clarity, turning exclusion into empowerment. At the crosswalk, William touched her shoulder. "You did great today," he said. Emma met his gaze. "I didn't plan it," she laughed softly. "I just refused to let her define me." "You didn't," he said. "You showed her, and everyone, who you are." That night, Emma sat by her bedroom floor, the dress still in its bag, untouched since the boutique. She chose it for its elegance, its strength, its unapologetic fit. Now it meant more, a symbol of a stand, a story rewritten. The city moved outside, but inside she was still. She recalled Victoria's words, Sarah's hesitation, the room's frozen silence. But what lingered was her refusal to back down. Her voice wavered, but her truth never did. The next weekend, Emma wore the dress to the gala. Heads turned, not for the gown's shine, but for her poise. Her light came from conviction, not spotlights. She glided across the marble floor, her smile declaring, "I know who I am, and I won't shrink." The gala buzzed with laughter and speeches. But the night's peak came when William took the podium. His youth leadership speech pivoted. Tonight, I share a story of bravery, he began, recounting the boutique's events, the bias, the silence, the courage. As he spoke of Emma's dignity against prejudice, the room filled with raw respect, earned, not inherited, from standing tall when sitting was easier. Emma stood to applause, not just as William's daughter, but as a symbol for those made to feel small. Later, a 13-year-old girl approached. "You're Emma, right?" she whispered. "I saw the video. My mom showed me. You helped me speak up at school when someone said I didn't belong." Emma knelt to her level. "You belong," she said firmly. "Always." The girl walked away, steps surer. Under the gala's chandeliers, Emma exhaled. She hadn't just left the boutique taller. She'd claimed her power, leaving the door open for others. Emma Carter's story started with a quest for the perfect dress. She didn't expect her joy to be hijacked by prejudice veiled in pearls and politeness. The boutique wasn't just a personal attack. It mirrored society's hidden biases in spaces meant for beauty and success. Emma didn't crumble or lash out. She stood firm, her quiet strength louder than any insult, her composure against baseless accusations, her call to her father, not for rescue, but to affirm her worth, was more than a moment. It was a reclamation. She belonged, not because of her name or her father's empire, but because her value needed no permission. When William arrived, not as a savior, but as a witness to her courage, he sent a message. Dignity isn't negotiable. The lesson is deep. We live where judgments precede words, where bias hides as policy or preference. Emma's story shows our worth isn't up for debate. When challenged, power doesn't need volume. Whether facing, witnessing, or perpetuating discrimination, we choose to shrink or stand. Let this inspire you to speak, show up, and choose respect.